Gary L. Thomas once said, "A mask partially conceals, but it also tells us that something is behind the mask." Good morning. My name is Sumrall. I'm a biological science pre-med student from the Dr. William Lewis Honors Institute of Pearl River Community College. Beginning in 2019, the coronavirus began to wreak havoc on the human race. The world's experts strongly suggested to medical professionals and government officials that wearing masks was the first defense and one of the many precautions people can take to slow the virus's spread. A study by the University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluations revealed wearing a cloth or medical-grade mask can reduce COVID-19 infections by 1/3. As a college student and member of a relatively small community, I find that masks are at the center of controversy almost everywhere I go. I'd like to tell you a story about a lady who brings 4 masks to work with her every single day. Her job entails her doing physical labor and she sweats, so when she goes on break, she takes the old mask off and puts the new one on. Even with changing her mask 4 times a day, she still contracted a bacterial infection on her face. So I would like to introduce to you the term maskne. Maskne is acne breakouts caused by prolonged wear of masks. It's kind of a term that is more of a contemporary term. Obviously, we just started wearing masks, the past year, and it seems like, they say, "Oh, I've got acne on my face from wearing my mask all day." Well, why is that? So a question came to me: are face masks hiding more than our faces? My research aims to determine if a face mask worn daily without disinfectant measures is a good medium for growing microbial organisms. I would like to add a disclaimer that I am not determining what organisms are growing, but which type of mask has the most growth. We will save determining the types of microbial growth for a future endeavor. In another study conducted by Duke University, researchers confirmed that the N95 was, quote, king against the fight in COVID-19. Conversely, the study's biggest loser was the neck gaiter mask, which actually breaks up the particles into smaller particles that remain airborne for much longer. However, Duke concluded that wearing a mask at all is still the best defense for society against COVID-19. So what is your mask hiding? The 3 most common types of masks that I see from day to day are cotton masks, medical grade masks, and the neck gaiter masks. Hence my decision to test each of these types of masks to see if they're hiding any bacterial growth. After a 1-day wear and after a 5-day, with 1 day equaling 7 consecutive hours. I ordered a 3 count of each type of mask online instead of purchasing from a store to minimize the risk of contamination. Upon arrival, I inspected each face mask to ensure that each of them were individually sealed. One of each type was selected and opened, followed immediately by a sterile swab onto a petri dish and the control groups that you see here. There was no bacterial growth or any microbial growth on the masks, so they were not contaminated and the experimentation could begin. I wore each mask on different days, the medical grade, gaiter, and cotton mask, for 7 consecutive hours. After the wear time was completed, they were sealed individually in a Ziploc bag to avoid any further contamination until each of them could be swabbed and cultured in an incubator for 4 days. And my results were quite surprising. On the first slide here that you'll see is the medical grade mask. There were 7 small visible colonies, nothing too scary, and this was also after 4 days of incubation. On the side that you see here, this is the gaiter mask, also after 1 day wear with 4 days of incubation. There was 1 large colony right there on the top with the large arrow and 7 small visible colonies. Now the next one, the 100% cotton mask, is the scary one. So the 100% cotton mask had over 50 colonies, each color denoting a different type of growth. And I thought that was absolutely crazy that after wearing a cotton mask 1 day, this type of growth could be seen on a petri dish. So the second phase of this experiment involved the same type of face masks, each new and unopened, subjected to 5 consecutive day wear, with each mask only being individually placed in a plastic Ziploc bag at the end of the 5th day. So they were open and they were out until the 5th day. The Ziploc bags were only opened at the time samples were taken. Each Petri dish was left to culture for 4 days, as in the previous phase. So here first we have the medical grade mask. We have 2 small yellow looking colonies that they're much larger than the previous slides that I showed. And then we have 1 massive fuzzy looking colony. The fuzz denotes flagella, which can actually be a sign that this type of microbial growth is motile, which means that it can actually move around. The next slide that you see here is the 100% cotton. It was worn for 5 consecutive days with 4 days of incubation. And there were 3 large colonies, 2 large motile colonies, and then 1 smaller yellow colony. But still, each of these colonies that we see here are larger than the 1-day wear. And here we have the most interesting one. We have the gator mask. It was also worn for 5 consecutive days, 4 days of incubation, but there are multiple small colonies that you can see all over the Petri dish. It seemed as though they didn't congregate as well, but it didn't stop any bacterial growth. It almost seems like it was more spread out. In conclusion, through my research, I have found that these 3 types of masks worn for 5 consecutive days without disinfecting will lead to obvious microbial growth. An assumption that I would like to make is that any mask worn for an extended period of time without being cleaned will develop bacterial growth due to the body's normal bacteria in the mouth and on the skin surface. Even though the 5-day gator mask did not contain clusters of bacteria, it still contained just as much, if not more, microbial growth than the other masks. The antimicrobial gator mask only disperses the bacteria instead of mitigating its growth. A recommendation for future research on this topic could be done by experimenting with other types of face masks, experimenting with disinfectant methods, determining the types of bacterial or fungal growth from the cultures, and effects of oral and dermal hygiene on microbial growth in face masks. Further research is not only warranted, it is necessary. Thank you.